And there we are. We're here for a early edition TigerBait Live. Lots going on in LSU sports. Big recruiting weekend. A lot to talk about here tonight. You got the baseball game going on over there, buddy. We got the women taking off today for the SEC tournament. Basketball at 8 o'clock. LSU against Arkansas, and a big Shriners tournament in Houston this weekend. And a big junior day this Saturday on the LSU campus. I've been working nonstop all day today, compiling a list that I'm going to have up on TigerBait, but not just a list. I've got notes on just about every kid. I've reached out to probably 300 prospects in the last 9 hours, and a lot more coming. So we're about to get kick into a whole other gear as far as recruiting on TigerBait.com. Of course, we're brought to you by Pride Roofing each and every week. Big thanks to Mike Faraday and Alex Martinez. And so if you're watching the show, please do us a favor. Hit the like button, share to social media, and we'll try to get to as many of your questions as we can tonight. So welcome in, buddy. How you doing?
Good to see you. Happy Wednesday. A little quickie show for everybody. LSU Basketball, 8:05 or thereabouts. Arkansas, when they came to Baton Rouge and beat LSU last time, Mike, it flipped the switch. They've won 13 of 14 since. LSU baseball, 7-1, playing a better competition. Blake Dean, former star with UNO. LSU leads 3-1. Kim Mulkey saying today as they depart for the SEC tournament, not important. We don't really need to win this thing. And she's right, trying to get some people healthy, trying to get their legs back. And, of course, as you alluded to, big weekend. We start to see what kind of class these guys are going to put forth here the next year or two, and the impact these new coaches and Brian Kelly have on the potential future LSU recruits. So all of that, and you've been working your tail off.
Yeah, it's a lot of new names on the board. A lot of kids are going to be bringing in. There's multiple kids from out of state, very up in the northern part of the United States, who say they're going to be coming in April for visits. And so I'm going to have updates on all those guys. So we've got a lot coming your way. Blaine Smith, right out the chute. Good evening, Mike. Any fire with the smoke about Jaden Daniels interested in LSU? Well, Blaine, Buddy can attest. When I talked about a quarterback that I was convinced more than ever on last week's show, that I was convinced more than ever that there would be a quarterback in this class, Jaden Daniels was who I was alluding to. I believe he's the target. When it's going to get done, when he's going to come for a visit, what the timeline is, I don't know. But I do think he's a guy that they are absolutely in pursuit of. And, of course, just been kind of keeping my powder dry on that one. I think all the parties involved have been talked to. And so there is absolutely a lot of smoke with Jaden Daniels from Arizona State. Would have 2 years of eligibility left. I think the thought with Jaden Daniels is that he would only play one. And so and then he would thinks he would go to the NFL from there. So we're going to see how this plays out. But like I've been saying for 2 or 3 months, I felt all along that one of the 4 spots would need to be a quarterback. And I'm not, just because I just think, and look, I think a main part of it is you want to go through spring football for sure to see how that plays out. But if you want to put a red shirt on Walker Howard, I think you need to have 3 quarterbacks there during the summer, not counting him, just because of the likelihood of injury and the transfer portal. Somebody wanting to leave out.
I looked at the stats on this kid, 17 touchdowns and only 2 INTs as a freshman, really big first year. Last year, 10 and 10. 10 touchdowns, 10 INTs. A lot of controversy at AZ State. This kid was I don't want to say bullied, but, there was some – it wasn't a normal departure from AZ State. And obviously, as we've been talking about, Miles Brennan, can he sufficiently stay healthy, learn this new playbook, and flourish with Denbrock and Kelly and stay healthy? Obviously, Garrett Nussmeier has some potential, but got to clean up ball security and other things. And Walker Howard, we're going to monitor, as he will not be there 3 weeks from tomorrow, folks. LSU starts practice. We'll be out there. Accessibility given to us, and it's fun. But another position, a quarterback in that position makes everybody better. I really believe competition makes everybody better. And 3 or 4 now is what you want. If you get into 2, Mike, you get into that problem if one gets hurt, then you only have 1. And that's what LSU actually won the national championship with 19, because look, the other 2 went. Miles Brennan was hurt, and Joe Burrow was really the only healthy quarterback.
I think the last thing you want is, and maybe because I'm angling the working the Walker Howard angle in his future, but it's if you want to redshirt him and maybe get him to play in 3 or 4 games so he keeps the red shirt next season, the likelihood of, the perfect scenario. Look at that. The perfect scenario is that you have 3 in August.
Mm-hmm.
How many schools last August or when the season started had 3 very good quarterbacks? Most of them were like LSU. They were down to 2 and in dire straits if something bad happened.
Sure.
And so it's almost so if you take Walker out of the equation, knowing that you absolutely would like to not have him be a part of any scenario next season, then you need 4. You need to be angling for 4 so that you have 3 that thinking that you'll get down to 2 in August. And that's just the nature of the beast.
And obviously, as we know, there will be some moves made, Mike, by a lot of players and coaches and schools after spring football. So we will monitor it closely, give you updates. I'm starting to compile a little bit of the depth charts and who we're going to be looking at in spring. Interesting on that offensive line. Who's going to be here early? You and I both talked about it today. Emory Jones, Will Campbell, some of those guys expected. Miles Frazier, does he come right in at left tackle? What about Cam Wire? What are you going to do with Doomerville, who we're waiting for the light to come on? All of that. Defensive line, I told you, I love Jamar Cain. And, oh, by the way, go to Mike's site if you did not enjoy those interviews. I thought everybody was well-spoken, but I felt there was a comfortability with them. When you come to a place like LSU and you saw that brand in 19, that's a hell of a high standard to live up to. And I think they are all really fired out about that challenge. And we've said it. These guys are here to win a national championship, Mike.
Absolutely. Dylan Smith gives us a go Tigers. Welcome into the show. Mark Cumby, good evening, guys. Glad to have you. Kenny Futch. Good evening, Buddy and Mike. Good to have Kenny with us. Dylan Smith, love the eye of Dillinger of Dellinger at center. Yep, it's when you tell me who's the guys working there, and before we even met with the coaches last week, that one was kind of what would you say, a logical.
You going with Dellinger? I'm going with 77. I think Marlon Martinez is going to win that battle.
I'm going to tell you the reason why. I want Martinez to prove me wrong.
Yeah.
And that way you have Dellinger able to play guard.
Sure.
And that's his natural position. But, I mean, Martinez, how far was he from knocking out Liam Shanahan?
Yeah. Well, look.
I mean, that's part of my process. If you can't beat out Liam Shanahan, but look, he's a young guy.
And this is the second year with Brad Davis. Now you're going to know exactly what Coach Davis expects. And Brian Kelly made a point to talk about the body shape and type on what they're looking for with O-linemen. I just think it's going to take a year and a half for them to get enough of those physical players that they want, Mike.
Barry Barbier, I thought Coach Brian Kelly was interested in Louisiana talent. Why so many out-of-state recruits? Same situation as before. No, I think he absolutely wants a lot of Louisiana talent, and I think there's going to be more numbers than we're talking about now. I think a big part of it is when they talk about more Louisiana talent is they really want to comb and beat the bushes for every, not having multiple kids from Central Louisiana, offensive linemen from Pineville leave the state and end up in the NFL, where you absolutely do a much better job evaluating talent, getting them on campus. So while there's kids that it's looking like right now it's still like a lot of out of state, I think the more in-state names will happen in the spring evaluation, in the June camp periods. But some of the positions where they're going out of state is by necessity. Tight end. I mean, I talked to 4 tight ends today. Mm-hmm. Quarterbacks. Recruit nationally for quarterbacks. You got to recruit nationally. We'll see if they go in on Ricky Collins or, but I don't see any scenario where, Arch Manning, we reached out to him. They're still in the playoffs. So both him and the tight end are not going to be on campus for the camp. So Will told me that they'll be coming later in the spring. So there's a lot of little scenarios like that. But look, defensive linemen, offensive linemen, there's not a lot of them in the state. They've got to go out of state at some positions.
I'm just
Would they prefer a recruiting class be 80% Louisiana? Probably so. But sometimes the state's just not going to give it to you.
I echo that sentiment. And Mike, to show you how important Louisiana is to this state, look what they've done. They brought all these coaches back with Louisiana ties, Joe, of course Frank, and obviously Hankton. And they brought a lot of these guys that have been other places that didn't play with LSU. I'm so fired up about that safety and that DB from Arkansas, Brooks and Fouché. But you got to understand, folks, they were rebuilding this program. You can't be picky about where you get great players from right now. And so I think they realize the importance of Louisiana, but they've got to stockpile this team, Mike, with 20. They can't afford to have 4 or 5 misses in this upcoming class.
Dion Smith, besides Shelton Sampson, I say Trey Holly is the next must in my opinion. He's in the discussion. Derek Williams, there's a lot of really good ones in the state. Like I've been saying for months, though, I think while last year's class we were talking about 5 or 6 guys is legit arguments to beat your chest about or stand up on the table for 5-star status. I think this class has a lot more national 250 type guys than last year, whereas last year's class was really, really top heavy. But there's some very, very good athletes in the state for the class of 23, and 24 is actually starting to look pretty darn good too. Carvester, I hope it is Martinez wins out and Chemo can be the backup, gives Fitz West time to develop, and Delegar at guard. That would be ideal, but I also think it's highly probable that one of the 4 spots needs to be a center. And based on just asking coaches questions and looking at body language when we had our breakout meetings with each assistant coach last week, I think we're pretty on target that it's center, tight end, quarterback, cornerback.
The interesting thing for me is...
And I think they're a little worried about safety, too, to be honest with you.
Oh, there's a lot of spots that you have to fill, and you got to get to depth. But, Mike, this is the interesting thing that I'm kind of focusing in on. Anthony Bradford and Cardell Stewart and all those guys that got a cup of coffee the last year. What are those bodies going to look like? How much better in shape are they going to be? How much more acclimated to Brad Davis and what he's teaching? And obviously, when you start talking about big uglies and the line of scrimmage, I think we've seen this. Brian Kelly is rebuilding LSU at the line of scrimmage, and that's what it's going to take. You're always going to have your skilled people around here. That is regional, but you're going to have some people from St. Louis and Midwest and New Jersey and others to supplement. I think that as long as they're big-time players and care about being LSU. By the way, Shelton Sampson, I'll say it right now. Go get you right now an NIL deal for that kid. Damn it, I don't want to see LSU lose a local kid that good because A&M, Bama, and Georgia come up with the busting money with NIL. Get it done.
I don't think there's going to be a problem there.
Okay, but we said that, and you saw how many left because they were a little behind on NIL. Shelton Sampson, hope you're a Tiger, my man.
American Patriot, is John Emery on campus? Yes, he is, and I'm told he's 100% and in very, very good shape. Now, it's one of the things I was hoping last week, and I'd asked Sports Information on Thursday. It's like, man, is there any way we can get the one of the strength coach in there with us on Friday? Because I would have loved to have talked to him being one of the guys, and he said that we might get him at another time. But I think this is a real big opportunity for John Emery. He gets a new running backs coach, a new offense.
Money year.
Yep, and I don't know. I mean, and I think that's like that at a lot of positions. There's a lot of guys that get a new lease on life. They get new coaches to show what they can do, and there's not any preconceived notions and So it can be good for a lot of kids. So
TDP had 1,000 yards rushing. If Emory can learn to catch the football and stick his head in there and protect the quarterback on blitz situations, I really think he's got a great chance to have a great year, Mike.
Safety is so crazy with us bringing in Sage Ryan and Derek Davis Jr. I am hoping this is the year Davis sees the field. I'm hoping Sage Ryan too. I know that there's, been here getting a little knocks about maybe him not being as tall as they'd like. Maybe hips doesn't move as good as they'd like. So, obviously Sage Ryan was a highly touted safety out of high school. So we'll see how it comes about. I know he does some, growing and some overtraining issues early last year. But hopefully that's all behind him.
And of course, we'll probably see Jay Ward move back to corner or in the nickel slot. Fouché, I think, is going to be one of your safeties. I really believe he's going to be one of those communicators back there that everybody gravitates to and listens to.
Guys, of course, we're brought to you each and every week by the fine folks over at Pride Roofing. Mike Faraday, Alex Martinez. Mike sent me some great photos of. He actually did the roof on his brother's house, and I'm going to have those uploaded for you guys to take a look at their work on next week's show. I want to get all those loaded up and make those look good so you can really see. They put some really high-quality shingles on that roof, a great color, and it really pops. And so wait till y'all see the work they did on this one. But let's go ahead and hear from Mike and Alex.
Hi, I'm Michael with Pride Roofing.
I'm Alex.
Were you affected by Hurricane Ida?
Insurance claim, no problem.
Are you concerned about the shortage of building materials?
We have what you need.
We're licensed residential and commercial contractors.
In Louisiana and Mississippi.
We install shingles, metal, and commercial roofing. From Baton Rouge to Slidell or Houma up to the North Shore.
We got you covered. Call Pride, 855-PRIDE-16.
Pride Roofing, the official roofer of TigerBait.com.
And there you have it, Mike and Alex. And as always, they are the absolute best. If you need a new roof, you need a quote, commercial or residential, metal roof, any type of roof, they're the people that you want to call, 855-PRIDE-16. Tell them you heard about them on TigerBait.com, and they will, if you're not already a subscriber, this is for non-subscribers, they will pay for you to have TigerBait Premium for 1 year if you say you heard about them on TigerBait. Multiple guys that watch the show have used them. I get a message at least once a week from somebody saying that they use Pride and how happy they are, and I think you will be as well. 855-PRIDE-16, anywhere in South Louisiana, the Gulf Coast, Mississippi, all the way up to Alexandria, Southern Mississippi, North Shore, real big. Of course, they're located in Albany, Louisiana, right there on Florida Boulevard. And go ahead and stop in if you're in the area. Take a look at everything they do, and of course they had a big acquisition right across the street.
Yeah, Crown Metals, and it is going to change the way they do business. A job well done is a job done with pride and by pride, and we take great pride in talking about Mike and Alex and of course Tammy and Yessie and all the people that are part of Pride Roofing. They are growing, they are expanding. In the Baton Rouge area, 275-2041. That's 225-275-2041. Insurance claim, whatever questions. Hey, they do it all, and they have a lot of other people, contractors, roofers, everybody, calling them now because with the acquisition of Crown Metals, the ball game has certainly changed. The final thing that we say, Mike, and this comes from people that have dealt with them and our dealings with them, they are a lot of fun to deal with. They work their ever-loving butt off, but they are smart enough to realize you got to enjoy life. And when you do a great job and you work your butt off and all of a sudden you sit back and you're proud, trust me, you will not be disappointed. They will sharpen the pencil on a competitive bid. They will get there early, clean up. I mean, they check all the boxes, Mike.
Absolutely. And the guys who own it actually know how to wield a hammer.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
So they get out there and they get a part of the cruise. So,
and we're lucky to keep Alex because after that commercial was cut, Hollywood wanted him to go work with the Jimmy Kimmel Show. And lo and behold, Mike was able to solidify him for another 10-year contract.
He needed an NIL deal.
Yeah.
David Stingley Jr., is LSU going after Trey Holly, the running back from Union Parish? Absolutely. He will be on campus this weekend. And he's just absolutely an electric running back. Obviously, he's a change of pace guy, but very durable. I don't have any issues with his size. What is he? Maybe 5'8" tops.
Well, I said the CEH kind of body, 5'8", 180. Is that a fair comparison? I mean, look, we talk about Clyde Edwards-Helaire at Catholic High.
I would love to put Trey Holly and Clyde back to back.
Well, I'm just saying, this is the size that Clyde came out was, but not everybody progresses. That's a hell of a story when you read about it and you look into Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and you know what happens, Mike. Everybody tells them the same thing. You're too small. You're too slow. You're not going to do this, and it catapults them to great things.
I've learned my lesson over and over. It took me a while, but I no longer judge running backs.
What's his 40
the
time,
measurables?
4.5.
I bet you he's right there with Clyde, and maybe at this age quicker.
Okay.
Rick Kelly's got a good question, and it's kind of I was thinking about him today because I was looking at his brother, who at LSU had offered last year. Hey, Mike, is Dion Smith still at LSU? He's kind of in no man's land, isn't he? Where he's academically, he needs to. He's in the portal, but is he academically able to go somewhere?
Well, he's got to get his academics right. There have been strong overtures that Ole Miss was going to swoop him up, but then there were also some bonding pictures on Twitter and other places with Keishon Butte and others. So I don't think anybody can call it right now. First thing, he's got to get eligible. Second thing is he going to mesh with this new staff?
I tell you what, it would be great if he could mesh with the new staff and they could get him back in the fold because, while there was we're talking about Shelton Sampson and there's a few others, but the numbers aren't like they were last year. But it becomes moot if you can get Dion Smith to come back.
Yeah.
And so that would be great. I don't know what the chances are, but I'm just talking pie in the sky in best case scenario.
Sure. But although let's interject now, LSU, generally speaking, is going to have a bevy of wide receivers. I'm excited about Chris Hilton. I know he had the late touchdown in the bowl game. I still think Brian Thomas Jr. has a chance to really take up a big step. Jeray Jenkins is there, solid. Obviously, Jack Besh, no longer as a tight end in the slot. Can he become a poor man's Cooper, with the Rams? And obviously, Butte is going to have a chance to have a big year and make some dollars. Malik Neighbors, I love him. I mean, we can go on and on and on. So, but Dion Smith is a difference maker with his speed.
Yeah, Dion Smith is like, okay, you get the tight end situation, and of course, Besh is now going to be where he needs to be at the wide receiver spot. But when Butte's gone, Dion Smith is that Butte guy. He is your number one. He is a number one. When Butte was out last year and the injuries started racking up, LSU did not have a true number one wide receiver. They just did not. They had a bunch of threes. And so I think it would be fantastic. Paul Escon, don't make the mistake of not calling Pride Roofing. Made my life very easy, professional, timely. Very thankful for them. Thank you, Paul.
PFM's a great guy.
Yeah, he
loves all the shows. And look, this show and my radio show and internet show and all those shows, we need folks like PFM because not only do they interact with us, but they patronize our great sponsors, and they know the reality of what it's like to deal with Pride Roofing.
Trey Baton. Mike, in your opinion, do you think Philip Webb will pan out and be another great linebacker? I'm starting to get a little worried. I think this is a very important spring for him.
I haven't seen enough of him. I know he wears 39. I can't remember him making a big play in a game. It's only been a couple years. I agree with you. This is put up or shut up year for Philip Webb. Where's he fit? Where's he fit in the defense?
And look, look, these are guys that are working their tails off. They're showing up every day. They're in the weight room. Nobody wants to do better than Philip Webb himself. But this is, when you look at that recruiting class and recruiting the East Coast states.
Anton Sampa and those kind of guys.
None of those guys have done anything. Yeah. All had nice 4-star rankings. And so I should name names of the guys who cover those states, by the way, the regional recruiting analysts.
I'm going to let you be spicy tonight. I'm going to be calm and collective, everybody. By the way, there is one advantage, Mike, with the linebackers. Matt House is going to be coaching the linebackers.
Man, I love talking to him.
Yeah, he's your defensive coordinator, but what I'm saying is that you're going to get some one-on-one teaching from him, a guy that's been with Kansas City. If he doesn't get it, if the light doesn't come on with Matt House, he's probably going to be in the transfer portal.
Yeah. Guys, do me a favor. If you're enjoying the show and really like what we do here, please hit the like button. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscription button, notification bell. Please share the show to social media. If you're an LSU fan, obviously you probably have a lot of LSU fans on your Facebook page. Please do me a favor and share the show on your timeline. Very much appreciated. It helps us with the algorithm. And, of course, always we want you to be a part of TigerBait. Go subscribe. I'm going to be working all weekend between two basketball teams, men and women. Baseball, we're going to be having live threads throughout the Shriners tournament. A lot of big baseball this weekend. And, of course, but my main focus is going to be all day Saturday and Sunday covering the Junior Day event because I think LSU's sitting with one commitment right now. I don't know that they're going to have a half a dozen commitments, but I just the math, the odds are that there's going to be multiple commitments throughout, over the weekend. Some guys I think are going to drop. So subscribe to TigerBait. As soon as it happens, we're going to send you a text alert to your phone, let you know of breaking news. So it don't matter if you're out on the water fishing somewhere or at the tournament in Houston. If there's a commitment, you're going to get a text alert from us. Our newsletters, the works. Go to TigerBait, subscribe when the show's over with. Choose the annual package. It's a lot less expensive. When you do that, you're basically getting 3 months free when you choose the annual. And I'd like for you guys to save on that. But I'm going to be dropping a lot of tidbits on the board. Like I said earlier when we started the show, I've been working all day. I probably reached out to close to 300 prospects in the class of 23 and 24. I've got a full worksheet that I'm going to load up on the site either late tonight or first thing in the morning going into the weekend. Notes on as many of those kids as possible. And so we're about to kick in a whole other gear in recruiting. The staff is probably, the new staff is offered probably, well over 100 new prospects from the offers that were already extended by the previous staff. So that's going to be another interesting part of coming out of this weekend. One of the things that when I asked Coach Polian last week was, how are you going to handle the re-offers?
Yeah. And
he said that'll be a case-by-case basis. And so it's going to be interesting to see how some of that plays out. So not only do you have a Junior Day event on Saturday, there's going to be kids coming the next weekend and all throughout the spring. This is going to be a nonstop thing going forward. So recruiting is about to go into a whole other gear. And before you know it, not only are you going to have spring football practices and recruits on hand there, big recruiting day, of course, always for spring game. And then you have the spring evaluation period where all the coaches are going to fan out, and there's going to be no issues with COVID this year. They're going to actually go out and watch spring football practices. Shooting last year, a lot of high schools still didn't have spring practices because of COVID.
Yeah.
And then some of them were opting to take the extra week. I think the LHSA allows high schools to have an extra week of fall camp if they didn't have spring. So now that looks like COVID is now it's still with us. It's always going to be with us. It looks like, but lockdowns, tracing, all the stuff that has given us headaches is going to be a thing of the past. And it's going to the recruiting calendar is going to be like it has been prior to COVID.
I get this question asked a lot, and I'll ask you with this new staff. From a PR standpoint, let's say there's 3 kids that go into Brian Kelly's office, says, Coach, I want to commit. Do you automatically take that commitment? And secondly, do you want to release that and get a little momentum for this 2020 class?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or with the NIL and the way it all happened, now we know that December 15 is going to be appreciably handled differently this year versus last year when they only had 2 weeks. So my point is that, you and I were talking, 2 or 3 verbal commitments that gets LSU to 4, whatever, you get a little momentum. And we're only talking about a 6-month thing here, folks. This is March of 2022. You're going to be signing these kids December of 2022. 22. So interesting to see. You say they take them and release them. I'm saying, remember the old secret commitment, the old
Yeah,
days?
that. But you could get away with secret commitments back in the day before there was message boards and Twitter.
Not
and
with social media now.
Yeah, it's impossible.
And of course, they changed their mind as well. But still, you and I were talking 2 or 3 expected this weekend.
I think so. I think that's probably. I mean, could it get crazy and be 6 or 7? I think that's highly. I just think, as we've seen over the years, junior day events don't yield a ton of commitments. But I almost feel like LSU's backlogged because of a new staff, and there's a lot of kids that would normally be early commitments that are just waiting to get let out, sent off the chute and get it done.
Catching up part starts this weekend.
Yeah, so it's going to be very, very interesting. Of course, another big sponsor of our show each and every week is Tony Freeman with Assurance Financial, and we're absolutely happy to have her with us each and every week. Thinking of buying a home, refinancing your current mortgage, but haven't found a lender you can trust? Let me tell you about Tony Freeman with Assurance Financial right here in Baton Rouge. Dear friend of mine, someone many of my friends have used for their mortgage needs over and over. Her knowledge and over 25 years of experience in the mortgage industry is unsurpassed. Tony offers a wide range of knowledge of home loan products, whether you're a first-time home buyer ready to buy a new home or you just want to explore your refinance options. Tony can guide you through your next mortgage experience. You can feel confident you're making the best financial decision with Tony as your guide. Not only is Tony a huge LSU fan, but Assurance Financial is a proud partner of LSU Athletics. Call Tony today, 225-239-7150. Again, that's 225-239-7150, and tell her you heard about her from TigerBait.com. Please tell her you heard about her right here. NMLS number 104765. Equal housing opportunity 70876, and believe me, with inflation, if you've been thinking about getting refied or buying a home or getting a second mortgage or doing an addition, whatever it may be that requires mortgage help, give Tony a call now before the Fed starts changing rates.
Yep.
You better do it now, because who knows where we're going to be 6 months from now.
Well, I think they said they came on and said they're going to do that later on this month. By the way, I did hear some of their radio commercials. I was driving, listening to the Tigers in baseball. They are leading UNO 6-2 right now. We'll give you updates on that. And, of course, Tony with a big, beautiful smile. And how many times have you talked to people? She just makes you feel comfortable. You sometimes go in and you go, it just didn't feel right. Trust me, she knows how to talk to people, knows how to handle her business, the consummate professional.
American Patriot, thank you very much for the super chat. Very much appreciative.
$4.99?
$4.99.
Hey, Patriot, see, I've seen this at work before.
Any talk about making changes to the transfer portal? I can't see it continue the way it's set up. They've absolutely, there isn't a coach in America that doesn't think the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness can go without significant rules, barriers, time frames. All that stuff's going to have to get worked out. Usually you have those types of meetings, NCAA committees, subcommittees, work groups, whatever you want to call them. Of course, you have SEC coaches meetings, usually in May. All that stuff usually is going to happen early summer, May, June. And I think they're going to put some guardrails on some of this stuff. I was joking with Joe Sloan about it, and it's, because, Coach Sloan was at Louisiana Tech, and I said to him, a lot of this is unfair to the mid-major. And he goes, tell me about it. I was there. You could be a coach like Coach Sloan was at Louisiana Tech and have really done your homework, gone to East Feliciana or wherever you went, and found a tweener or a guy who you developed a year or two, and then the big boys can come in after they see him perform well for you that fall and say, we'll take that. And, that's the nature of the beast, and it is unfair to them. But I don't think there's any way you can guard against that. But what can happen is where you're not having scenarios where guys are getting in the transfer portal, and like Lane Kiffin was saying, I've got guys in the transfer portal, yet they're out there practicing with me, getting ready for a bowl game. Something's got to be done with that.
You have free agency without any policing. You have free agency without any salary cap. Now, look, none of us know in Baton Rouge exactly what Texas A&M spent with that last class, but they did a hell of a job with the organization, with the communication with their boosters, with all of the companies to set up. Let's give the Aggies credit. They did this a knock-up job, and Texas.
Yeah, I was just so you bring that up. Dion Smith says, I wonder if Texas A&M will be able to keep the high NIL going. And Ryan Engel says the only coach who likes the current NIL deal is Jimbo.
And so, but Mike, this is uncharted territory. Here's the problem, folks. The NCAA has been deemed powerless. They've been asking Congress and the government to help them out with all this stuff. So we're in a big hot mess, and everybody's driving on the interstate 130, and there's no cops, and you're texting, and you're doing all this crazy stuff in the car. And it got so bad this year, the irony that Nick and Kirby both wanted to say, let's slow this puppy down, and Jimbo took issue to that, as we saw. But I think you're going to have to go year to year as to what they try to implement. But this is crazy times. Oh, by the way, the ACC is the conference that's been holding up the move to 12 with the CFP. So right now it looks like it's going to stay at 4, more than likely until 2025. But the ACC has been one of the detriments, that and the Rose Bowl and some other things. But man, this is just a little.
I'm against the 12.
Well, but here's the question: what I'm saying, we're seeing history is going to come back, and we're going to go back and look at this last 5 years and the next 5 years, and this is going to be different than any other decade that we've ever seen. All the stuff that's taking place, COVID, all the games canceled, blah blah blah. It's unbelievable what's going on in college football. I just hope I recognize it.
Well, and so what it is basically the last. Is there a scenario, and I'm. I'm not going to be the guy that's the get off my lawn guy, but is it quite possible that the last great year of college football was the greatest year of college football, or the greatest team in the history of college football, 2019 LSU?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, what they did with Cincinnati goes to show you just how incredible those two were, and all those guys on that 19 team. But I'm hoping that Brian Kelly is going to build LSU back and be back in the mix. But my point is that we are driving around, and these laws, you remember you played in the backyard, your buddy, and you played at 12, and then all of a sudden you say, no, let's play to 15, no, let's play to 21. They're making up rules as we go, Mike, and you have to adapt, and that's why the Louisiana Techs and Tulsa's and SMU's at a big disadvantage.
That's why I've said you need the alpha.
You need a commissioner for college football.
Oh, but you also need the Brian Kellys, the Sabans,
Sure.
the Ryan Days. You need guys like the guys like to step up, even if a lot of this stuff benefits them, to step up and say something's got to be done, because it used to always be that the mid majors were a pain in the ass to getting any meaningful legislation done, but I think now, because of the way things are situated, they're the ones they're going to get hit the worst. And so I think that it's more conducive to get things done now, because they're going to get gutted without significant guardrails on both transfer portal and NIL. And so we'll see. Let me catch up with some of you guys. Give me a
LSU hoops tonight, a 5.5-point underdog against Arkansas. That game's on ESPN2. Mike, 8 o'clock games generally start 8:05 to 8:07, so we'll be scrambling out of here at about 5 minutes to 8 or 10 to 8, whenever Bossman wants to cut it off. But lots going on, man. Baseball, basketball, both sports, softball, big weekend. Everybody is getting into action.
Buddy was kidding me. He said, "See what happened? You coasted for 3 or 4 days with Mardi Gras, and it's kind of true. And it's so big recruiting weekend, multiple sports. And of course, we're doing something at TigerBait we've never done before with Mulkey Fever. We're covering women's basketball, and that's such a draw. And so that's That's like having two men's basketball teams, Mulkey and women's basketball. And greatest turnaround in SEC history. And someone I saw it below, we're going to get to it in a minute, but Coach of the Year, she did not get it. And
But that's motivation, and
I thought of that. That's very much.
She doesn't care about
not only that. Believe me, okay. I've got friends who cover the Gamecocks. All right, and I got a message from one of them when Mulkey, when it looked like it was about to happen. Staley was a nervous wreck when she found out that Mulkey to LSU might happen.
Sure.
And they're all that way.
Yeah.
So Mulkey basically parachutes into the SEC, and it's got them all running scared. And what does she do in year one? Finishes in sole possession of second place. I just wish, even though she doesn't value the tournament, I would have loved to have seen Alexis Morris be 100% and get a second shot at South Carolina in the SEC tournament.
But let me explain what I said earlier. She's not going over there purposely trying to lose.
No, she's too competitive.
What she said is this. Basically, your seeding is already etched in play on what you've done. Mike, they had the greatest turnaround in the history of women's basketball, going from 9 to 25 and finishing as the overall second seed. They feel like their seeding for the national tournament is there. That means LSU will host round 1 and 2. She's already working the crowd.
How tough of a ticket is that going to be?
But she's already working the crowd, and she told them today as they were getting ready to leave, they had a press conference, said, look, the NCAA first and second round are more important than this SEC tournament. So Morris, they're going to rest. I think that they are a little dead leg because they've been playing so many ladies, 35 to 40 minutes. Kayla Pointer's got to be ready for a little bit of a break. So not that much emphasis in this SEC tournament, but first and second round. Wouldn't that be something if she made Sweet 16 in her first year? Pretty damn impressive.
And she's right when she said it today that, you know, if it absolutely ended early, they've absolutely, if there's nothing that she would complain about, because it's just been an unbelievable year. Biggest turnaround in the history of SEC women's basketball. But she said, but, you know, spoiled LSU fans, and she joked, you know, are going to want more.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But believe me, she says that she wants more.
By the way,
I think Sweet 16 is the minimum.
Her recruiting class coming in here is awesome. And then you continue to, I mean, seriously, you ever covered this young lady like you've had before?
Michaela Williams.
Yeah. Have you ever covered any LSU prospect like that? You get her in along with this class coming in next year. She's going to have bigs. She's going to have guards. Look, this is just scratching the surface. Will Wade, I do hope real quick, I got to throw this in there. How cool was that to see Shaq Diesel in the Pete Maravich Assembly Center Saturday night against Missouri? Now, I got to ask you, do you think that impacted the number of minutes that Sharif got?
I did, yeah, I did.
I do too, but he played well.
But honestly, he should be getting more minutes.
Well, there's no doubt about it. And so the Efton Reed fan club says, hey, leave my 5-star alone. I just hope Sharif gets a few more meaningful minutes tonight. Alex Futch, all those guys. You got to use those guys. Once again, we know the story, so we kind of dip it off, but it's been a lot to cover. Mulkey and the Lady Tigers expected to host first and second round. LSU men projected, Mike, 6, 7, 8, or 9, depending on how they finish last two games in the SEC tournament. LSU baseball top 10, playing number 1 Texas on Saturday. Beach volleyball opening up at 5 or 6. Jay Clark, 5 or thereabouts in gymnastics. We don't cover much on track and field. I mean, we said it the last couple times we've been on. Great time to be a Tiger fan.
Okay, I got about 6 or 8 guys. I want to fly through your questions as fast as I can. Adam Ahmed, what read do you have on Shelton Sampson and Derek Williams? Both those guys are very quiet kids. Derek, if you notice on Derek Williams, he don't do hardly interviews. He's not a guy on Twitter, look at me, hardly ever tweets. Shelton is very quiet as well. But I like where LSU is with both of them. You know, I kept saying all last, you know, at the end of the last recruiting year, I have a hard time believing a kid from New Iberia, Westgate is going to go anywhere but LSU, and then we saw what happened. So, but Derek is right up there when we're talking about, that's part of this year's class. A lot of very good players. Holstein's in the mix. You're talking about who's the best player in the state. There's like 6 or 7 guys, even some guys in the top 7 or 8, where you can make an argument for it because there's not a clear-cut guy in my opinion. So I like Derek Williams a whole lot. He doesn't get talked about a whole lot because he's at New Iberia Westgate. But obviously they had another great season, and we're going to be doing a lot more on him on TigerBait. Let me scroll through. Dion Smith, sounds like a crazy weekend for you, Mike, and the TigerBait staff. No doubt about it. Rick Kelly, hey, Mike, how does Mulkey not win Coach of the Year? The Good Old Boys Club or Good Old Ladies Club, whatever you want to say, first year. And like I said, I think they're running scared on her. Mulkey got robbed, says Jerry Zimmerman. Kenny Futch, the lady Tiger women's basketball team has been a joy to watch this year. They absolutely have. So, Jerry Zimmerman, one more. How's Walker Howard doing after his thumb surgery? I'm told he's doing absolutely fantastic. He's doing everything he can in the workouts, that doesn't, where he can't use his hand. Maybe there is a chance that he could get a weekend of practice. I know that was something that Jamie had mentioned to me, just days after the surgery. We'll see. But I know that that's not keeping Walker from doing as much of what the other players are doing that he can without a right hand.
All right, real quick, just to go through the quarterback situation. So Walker won't be available, let's say, the first 60% of the start. Okay, so maybe the back end, last 30 or 40%. So basically, you got Miles Brennan and Garrett Nussmeier, right?
I would basically just say you're not going to have Walker Howard, and if he shows up, it's Lanyap. But I would just say that that's going to be the 2.
But the other kid, Daniels, will be after spring ball.
Yeah.
Okay. So interesting to watch that, and we'll get some vibes when we go into practice. What do you think? What kind of availability? What kind of shots and stuff you're going to be able to shoot to give the because it's an insatiable appetite over here to see, and this is one of the things that you do better than anybody. Mike gives you quality film and obviously talks to all these people, but the film and the stuff that you bring to the table, we'll interject with post-practice updates, and appreciate all those sponsors.
It depends on how much. This might be the scenario where we hope Brian Kelly adopts what's been all the previous coaches have done. Because talking to the Notre Dame guys, at Notre Dame for spring practice, they would get 5 practices of 20 minutes, through the typical 4 periods, but they would get 2 full practices. So what would you rather? Would you rather have just about every practice but scrimmage days and it only be 3 or 4 periods, or would you rather have 5 days of 4 but you get 2 full practices? I might be open to the I don't have any choice, but I might actually like the 5 and then where we get access to 2 full practices.
Yeah.
If he adopts what he did at Notre Dame.
I joked last week, you don't act in Baton Rouge the same way you act in South Bend, Indiana. It's going to be interesting. By the way, I never had a chance to publicly ask you because you and Charlie and some of the others were lamenting the fact that you didn't get that press conference. But after the day where he went through the defensive staff and of course, and then the offensive staff, were you happy and were you overall pleased on what they delivered?
Look.
I know it's coach speak.
When you're a head football coach, they all want to speak with one voice. They don't want a coordinator or a position coach contradicting them or revealing something they don't want revealed or a slip of the tongue.
But we got coordinators and we got all the other guys.
But I would say, from a selfish standpoint, he's got some guys on his staff that are really good guys and like good speakers, and they're fun to talk to. So I do think that he does allow coordinators to talk to the media a couple of times a year. So, because I really like Denbrock and I really like Matt House. Mm-hmm. Denbrock's funny. He's got a wicked sense of humor. So hopefully we get to talk to them some more. I don't know if there's going to be a TAF tour stop, but with the coaching roster they've got now if they do a TAF tour, I think they're going to need bigger places than walk-ons to have them.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because people are going to want to come out. People are tired of being cooped up with COVID. You got a whole new roster. Kim Mulkey's a rock star wherever she goes. So we'll see how that plans out. No word on that. But all right, guys, go to TigerBait and subscribe. I'm telling you, the recruiting stuff is going to be coming fast and furious. We're going to a whole other gear now. So go to TigerBait, subscribe. We want to have you on board with us. Thanks to Buddy for coming in and being with me again this week. And thanks to all you for tuning in. Please like, share, the whole works. Subscribe and notification bell on YouTube. And we'll be back here on the other side. I tell you what, depending on what happens at the Junior Day on Saturday, if there's some notable news, if there's a whole lot to talk about, I might pop in and do a 15-minute deal Sunday evening. So we'll see how that plays out. But all right, guys, good night. Y'all have a good weekend. Oh, by the way, go see the new Batman. It's incredible.